Hi, this is Patrick from the NPO Authority, Nonprofit Organization Authority, NPO Authority. Thanks for checking us out. And today's little hint is, what do all nonprofits have in common as a little mistake that they all do when they do a wealth screening? So we're going to go over wealth screening. What do all nonprofits have in common when it comes to wealth screening and this little baby mistake that they do? So the mistake is that we don't predefine the workload and the resources needed, required, and necessary that the wealth screening workload is going to give. So what people are screening their donors because they want to find out, of our donor database, what are and who are the donors we are supposed to be asking. How much money should we ask of them? And who are the donors that have made a $5,000 and up gift? Who are the major donors? So that's what we're looking for from a wealth screening, to define, who are the donors and how much to ask. But what little mistake before we did the wealth screening pretty much all nonprofits have in common is, since they didn't know this, going into it, it's a harmless mistake, but it costs a lot of money, and it hurts organizations, which is they don't know the science behind it and the math behind it and the statistics behind what workload is going to come from small, medium, and large donors. So what happens is that no matter what size of your nonprofit, every nonprofit has a capacity rating and then like actual donors. It's like, what is their capacity? So you're going to find that 20 to 30% to 17% to 21% of your file has a large donor capacity. And that's great. Capacity is kind of a joke in the real world. When you're working with the NPO Authority, we don't go off capacity. We go off of actual donor history. So what you're going to find is 7 to 11, and it's closer to like 12%, but we'll be nice and say it's basically for sure that 10% of your file has made a donation to a nonprofit outside of your organization for $5,000 and up. If you're screening 1,000 of your donors, then it's basically 100% chance that 10% of that database has made a donation of $5,000 and up. Is, in a sense, 10% of that database are already large donors. You just didn't know that. So what happens is that people screen, or nonprofits screen, 6,500, 7,500, 10,000, 20,000 of their donors. And then they're going to find out that they have a workload of 750 major donors, right? So if there's only 3 people here as far as development officers, that's too much of a workload. That's great for mailings and emails, but as far as like a real workload of sit down and ask, that's too many people. So the mistake that all nonprofits make is that they don't know the math. They didn't ask the math. They didn't work with a group called the NPO Authority that is going to basically sit them down prior to the screening and define the terms of what you need to do before every wealth screening is find out who are your resources. How many people on the boards of directors are going to ask? How many sits are they going to go on? How many files are they willing to work? How long are they willing to work the files? Is it 1 month, 1 week, 3 months? Just call me and I'll go on some of the sits with you. Don't worry. Because what happens is you screen your 4,500 donors, and now you have 450 major donors, and then you turn around and say, let's go to work, guys. And since you didn't ask them prior, and you assume that they would help because this is kind of in their job title, they say, no, I'm too busy. It's not a good time. I didn't know. No, I'll give you a couple weeks worth or a couple days worth, or just email me the people. And now your 4,500 record screening file has basically got no legs. So the number one mistake that all nonprofits have in common is they don't predefine the workload prior to the screening. Because now you know 10% of that file is a major donor database. You get that now. So before the screening, you have to find out how many people do I have as resources here that are going to go on the sits? How many people? Predefine that. How long are you going to do it? How many sits are you going to go on? How many files are you going to do? So when you get that answer, it only may be like 60, 70 people here. So now you know you have to limit your screening to like 1,000 donors, for example, because that's the resources that you have. Does that make sense? So it's a little under the radar mistake that everybody makes, and that's simply because they just weren't working with the right company that kind of consulted them before they did the screening. Most companies will just screen your database, give you back the records, and God bless you. So at the NPO Authority, we work a little different. We're here to help you. We're here to work with you. We're here to kind of consult you on how to break this file down. And one of the things we do is how many people are going to work this file, how long are they going to do it, what are your resources, and then from there we build out a screening. Everybody else does the opposite, which is screens everybody and then goes find their workers. And that's the big, that's the mistake of the day. And that's the one little hint I can help you with. Check us out at, here's my email, Patrick@NPO Authority. We give out free demos. We'll let you have passcodes to the NPO Authority Wealth Screening Tool. We'll show you what that looks like. Go to npoauthority.com. You'll see some of our videos there. But just, we do give out free demos. We're here to help. We're here to explain a deeper dive. If you haven't screened your donors in the last 5 years, now's the time. We do little test files, 50, 60, 100 donors. We'll test your file out for you just to give you an idea of what's behind these closed doors. And you'll see what I mean, that 14% on average, this is on average, of your file has a major donor, capacity. What type of organization you have. We're looking at 14%, pretty much on average, have a major donor capacity. And I'm finding that 9 times out of 10, 10% of that file is and are major donors already. And long story short, let's predefine the workload, screen it, because we already know what's coming out on the opposite end as far as the workload. We don't know which fish we're fishing for and what species of fish they are and how big they are and where they're hiding. But we know for sure if we go fishing today, we're going to catch 110 fish. So when we get back to the dock, who's going to cut and who's going to, fillet and who's going to fry and who's going to help me carry this stinky fish? Because in 3 days, this fish is going to start stinking up the joint. So we'll talk to you soon. Patrick at NPO Authority.